Match 4, Kamen Rider J versus Zarkorr versus Kraa by Birdman. The earth trembled from an unseen force. The mountainside collapsed, sending boulders as large as houses tumbling down into the city below. From the earth's womb it emerged, a towering leviathan of crimson. Its reptilian head was crowned with a pair of elongated horns, and its jaws were filled with an uneven mess of pointed fangs. A trail of shark-like triangular spines adorned its back from neck to tail. Ooh, that's a nice description. Ooh. Its arms and legs were toned with powerful muscles as its hands and feet were tipped with razor-sharp claws. Ooh, that's another good one.
Kaiju X is aroused.
Yeah. It was as if the devil himself had entered the mortal world and had taken form of the king of the monsters. I don't like that one. I'm just kidding. It scanned its surroundings with bulbous azure eyes, taking in the concrete and glass structures and the crowded city streets. Nobody knew what this strange creature was, or what it wanted, or how long it had been in hibernation. The crowds of people, while ununified and confused, all shared the same goal of survival, but not all of them would achieve that goal. The reptilian invader let out an ear-piercing bellow of power, its sound alone shattering windows and eardrums alike and causing rows of houses to fall apart with its vibrations. It made its way... Finally, we got someone to compete with Mary Sue Gamor's whining. Anyway. It made its way through the gray, smoke-filled streets, each step of its feet causing the street beneath to sink under its unmeasurable weight. Well, the cards are, I think, if this is the right monster, then yeah, that'd be true. No matter how close the people ran...
No, it should be question mark, wait.
Yeah. No matter how fast the people ran or how much they increased the acceleration of their vehicles, they would find themselves in the shadow of the Crimson Devil's feet and become nothing but smears on the asphalt afterwards. The beast continued on, deeper into the city. Its claws and tail carved into the sides of buildings and brought them crashing down. To it, they were but obstacles on the path towards its target. It would find and destroy them, and then the entire planet will be doomed to extinction. Hundreds of miles away, the mysterious creature's target remained blissfully unaware of the events that were transpiring. Koji Sagawa stood in the kitchen of his remote forest home, preparing breakfast.
What kind of breakfast is he having?
Yeah, good question. Bacon and eggs.
Is he having bacon and eggs?
Hey!
Oh, okay.
He half-heartedly listened to the radio announcer discuss the latest news.
And in the latest news, a giant monster has appeared in Salt Lake City. Experts have currently been unable to identify the creature, which emerged from the side of a mountain in the early hours of this morning.
Koji looked up from his kitchen work surface as he realized what the announcer was saying. Immediately, he ran over to turn up the radio's volume in order to properly hear the details. His mouth gaped at the news he was hearing. Over the sound of the radio announcer, a faint buzzing noise and someone calling out to him could be heard. I think that Koji spelled wrong, but I'll just roll with it. Koji spun around to see a familiar insect hover outside his windows, its mandibles opening and closing as it formed words that were muffled by the glass between it and Koji. Once again, I think that was also spelled wrong. No, whatever. Is it Kaiju or Koji? We'll see that in a bit.
I think it's the former.
Okay, it's the former?
Koji,
okay,
yeah,
because Koji sounds more natural than Kaiju. Or
yeah.
Kaiju. Yeah, Koji. Never mind.
Kaiju sounds like a fish kaiju.
It really... That's actually not a bad fish kaiju name. Despite the fact that it's like one letter off from kaiju, but whatever, I don't care. Koji ran over and opened the window, allowing the grasshopper to enter his home. No, it's an infestation! Run! Anyway, he held out his arm and it settled down on it before turning to face him.
Hey.
Barry, the emissary of the Earth Spirit, spoke in raised tones.
Something terrible has happened. A giant red monster has... I know.
Koji interrupted. Alex. I heard it on the radio.
Did you read that little
Yeah,
part?
I did.
Oh, well, I didn't hear you.
Well,
I heard it on the radio.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. Barry said with a hint of disappointment in his voice. He was quickly perked up and continued speaking.
But there's more to this than what it seems, Jay. This monster doesn't have any life force. What?
Koji said, surprised by this revelation.
I don't understand. How is this possible?
Because Zarkorr is not a living being.
A new female voice cut into their conversation. Koji whipped out to face the speaker, and his jaw dropped in shock. A miniature teenage girl sat atop his radio. Koji would have considered himself crazy at seeing such a sight, but having a giant talking grasshopper as a companion threw that theory out the window a long time ago.
Who are you?
He asked.
He asked.
He asked, gosh darn it.
Oh, he asked.
Jay, who are you talking to?
Barry asked in response. Koji looked down at him with a confused expression.
Can't you see her?
Barry looked around the room, her eyes passing over the tiny girl's form.
I can't see anything today. Now's not the time to be joking around, or to be on the heroin.
You can't see me.
The girl explained.
Because I do not exist in the real world. I am merely a psychic image projected in your mind by the heroine. Perhaps it would be best to do the same for your friend here.
Oh god, he's gonna get the bug on heroin.
Well, something to see.
Yeah, giant grasshopper gets hooked on heroin. Anyway, a brief moment passed, and then Barry buzzed off with Koji's arm in alarm.
Jay, there's a tiny person on your radio. I hadn't noticed.
Koji replied sarcastically. Okay, that's pretty great. Before turning his attention back to the doll's...
More heroin.
Wait, what the... I guess something else went missing there, too. Before turning his attention back to the doll-sized team. Alex, it's your part. There's just missing...
apparently there's a...
Yeah, missing quotation
You said
mark.
its name was
Gosh darn it, Kaiju X.
What is it?
Yeah, gosh darn it, Kaiju X.
Is it Koji X?
Oh, yeah, Koji X. That's great.
Zarkorr is our test for humanity.
The girl explained.
The girl explained.
The girl explained.
It is here so that humanity has a chance to earn the cosmos. Hooray for heroin!
A loud gasp escaped Koji and Barry's mouths.
What do you mean,
Oh, could you repeat that again? You kind of
too large.
Oh, hold on.
The human race has grown too large to be allowed to exist without proving its worth. We have sent Zarkorr to test that worth by fighting its greatest champion. Yeah, fuck you.
The pixie-like girl focused her gaze onto Koji.
You, Kamen Rider J, not Godzilla, not Gamera, not Zone Fighter, not Ultraman, but you. Nobody knows about.
There was no remorse in loss.
he spluttered, which earned a nod from the tiny girl.
Defeat Zarkorr, and your people will be spared, and you'll get a little surprise from me. If you fail or refuse this task, we will remove Earth from the cosmic balance. Whee! Hooray for death!
That's great.
I'm already having fun with this.
Oh, absolutely. I can tell you. I mean, as long as you're able to insert heroin jokes and themes of death, that's fine, because it's true. With those words, the girl vanished, leaving Koji and Barry to take in what they had just heard, now realizing they were just hooked up on heroin the whole time. The fate of the entire world was resting on the human shoulders. You want to get high? Anyway.
What do we do now, Barry?
Koji asked his insect companion.
Isn't it obvious, Jay?
Came the grasshopper.
We gotta inject ourselves.
Gosh darn, I should have waited.
You gotta get more and more high.
I should have waited before saying that joke. Oh, wow. Came the grasshopper.
As a J-powered warrior, It is your duty to defend the Earth from those who threaten it, whoever these aliens are. You cannot allow them to win, or should I say these hallucinations to win. If we let them win, then we overdose, and we don't want that. We want more heroin.
Koji contemplated Barry's words for a moment. He knew the risk he would have to take. If he did not take up the challenge, everyone would die. Even if he failed defeating Zarkoorr, it would make no difference if he accepted or not. But he couldn't just abandon everyone. To act out of cowardice was to go against everything he stood for as a J-powered warrior, and as a Kamen Rider. He would fight this battle, regardless of whether he won or lost.
All right,
he said, nodding to Barry to let him know his decision.
Let's get high.
Koji immediately started doing heroin. Okay, I'm just kidding. Okay. Koji immediately began performing several quick poses before shouting,
Henshin!
The symbol on his belt flashed with green light, which engulfed his entire body. Emerald particles was drawn toward him and joined him.
Good on it, Kaiju X.
Gosh, yeah, I know. Gosh darn it, me. And joined to his body, forming armor of various shades of green. A red gem was placed where his belly button should be. Very specific, but I guess it's not wrong. His head was covered by a helmet, fashioned in the style of a grasshopper. A pair of small antennae topped his mask, and two massive compound crimson eyes faced forward, separated by a vertical silver grill-like line down the middle of the helmet. The light covering him subsided, completing his transformation to the Earth Spirit Warrior, Kamen Rider J. Minutes later, the door to his garage opened, and Kamen Rider J sped out, riding the J Crosser, Barry buzzing alongside him. Together, the two headed out towards the freeway, and from there towards Salt Lake City, and in turn, Zarkoorr. Pass.
Many hours later, night had fallen over Salt Lake City. The city prevented from being consumed by total darkness due to the raging fires slowly taking over the wreckage left behind in Zarkoor's wake. The army had tried to combat a devil-like dragon to no avail. Tank shells, missiles, napalm, and every weapon in their arsenal, barring nuclear weapons, had failed to harm him. Even now, soldiers, tanks, helicopters, and jets tried their damned hardest to even wound the returning beast. How edgy. In return for their futile efforts, Zarkoorr had revealed his secret weapon, his eyes.
His eyes? Gosh darn it, Kaiju X.
His eyes released a barrage of energy bolts that tore through the military like tissue paper. Searing hot flames engulfed the streets as Zarkoor's blast detonated, bringing down buildings that yet to suffer the invaders' wrath. For the people gathered in the safe zone outside the city limits, all hope seemed to be lost. If the military couldn't stop the monster, well, who else could? But that's when the sound of a motorcycle broke the silence and began to fill the air. Civilians and soldiers alike turned around in confusion, for all eyes settled on a pair of ruby-red lights in the distance that were rapidly glowing, approaching. As he got closer, another, smaller pair appeared before it, before the owners emerged into the light as he sped past, revealing the lights as the eyes of Kamen Rider J and the J Crosser. The people's hopes, previously the hope of dying altogether, were swiftly resurrected as he drove past at astounding speeds, becoming almost a blur to the naked eye. The crowds cheered and waved as they vanished once again into the distance towards Zarkoorr. If anyone had a chance of avenging those lost in the Devil's Rampage, it probably wasn't him. Zarkoorr was in the middle of disemboweling a skyscraper when he sensed his target's arrival. He attacked and turned to face the incoming hero. His massive eyes quickly locked onto his microscopic form, driving the streets towards him. Zarkoorr released a silencing bellow and began firing blue blasts at Kamen Rider J. But the motorcycle riding hero easily outpaced him. Trail explosions followed behind him, trying to keep up as Zarkoorr fired blindly down on him. On the street before him lay an overturned car, lying at such an angle to form a crude ramp, aiming at Zarkoorr. Kamen twisted the throttle of the J-Crosser to increase its acceleration. As he drew closer, plants all across the city of all shapes and sizes began to glow with white light as Kamen Rider J did the same. The light coating the J-Powered warrior began to intensify as he neared the car. He silently hoped there was enough life force in the area to perform his necessary feat. The J-Crosser hit the ramp and was launched high into the air, towards Zarkoorr. In midair, Kamen Rider J leapt off his trusty motorcycle, seemingly to his death. Okay, the end.
Yeah.
The light coating him expanded and grew to nearly match Zarkoor's size. The light was brief and faded, relieving Kamen Rider J in jumbo formation. Zarkoorr showed no signs of being shocked or confused by Kamen Rider's change in size. His face remained impassive as always. Oh, so he's high too.
Yeah, apparently.
He's doing that hard weed.
Yeah.
The two giants circled each other, waiting to see who would make the first move. Kamen Rider J knew this would be no ordinary battle. This would be the conflict that determined the future of the human race. The fate of planet Earth rested on Kamen Rider J's shoulders. Letting out the signature sounds, Zarkoorr and Kamen Rider J charged at each other. Pass.
Knew it.
The two
I
swiftly
knew
met
that
in
one
combat.
would pass.
Wait, what? Okay. The two swiftly met in combat, each instinctively seeking to take the other out as quickly as possible. Zarkorr swung at Kamen Rider J, only for the grasshopper-themed warrior to raise his arm and catch Zarkorr's own, then lashed out with his free arm, only for that to be caught by Zarkorr in return. The two struggled and twisted in the narrow streets, trying to overpower each other. Kamen Rider J broke off the stalemate, shoving Zarkorr's arms away, before striking the beast in the chest with his fist. Zarkorr didn't even flinch, nor did he even let out a grunt of pain. A confused gasp escaped Kamen Rider J's hidden mouth as his head snapped up to look Zarkoorr face to face. He tried again, sending several punches into Zarkorr's chest and driving him back a few paces. Again, the dragon-like creature refused to show any signs of feeling pain. This fact did not bother Kamen Rider J. He'd faced and beaten similar foes before. Kamen Rider J leapt it into the air. Mid-jump, he spun around and slammed his leg into Zarkorr's side, causing the reptilian to stagger briefly. Thinking he had an opening, the J-powered warrior moved to beat in Zarkorr's chest once more. He swung his fist, but Zarkorr swung faster, the dinosaurian devil's claws slicing to Kamen Rider J's shoulder, leaving deep gouges in his armor. A cry of pain escaped the rider's hidden mouth as he staggered back, clutching his injured shoulder. Kuji was silently glad he couldn't bleed in rider form. but that didn't prevent him from feeling pain altogether. Before he knew it, Zarkorr was on him. Lashing out with his armor-piercing claws, Kamen Rider avoided the invader's lashing hands, backflipping out of the way as Zarkorr's claws sliced nothing but empty air. The devil in dinosaur form, that's a weird way to phrase it, bellowed as Kamen Rider J landed on his feet, and unleashed a pair of eye blasts. The twin blasts struck the Earth Spirit's champion in the chest, knocking him down. With his target down, Zarkorr began to close the distance as Kamen Rider J tried to stand upright in his dazed state. The devil-like dragon's eyes unleashed more rapid-fire blasts, keeping Kamen Rider J from rising as explosions went off around him. At last, the giant warrior managed to stand, but Zarkorr had already closed the distance and spun around, swinging his tail at Kamen Rider J. The rider braced himself and caught Zarkorr's tail with both hands as it slammed into him, sending him sliding across the ground. He gasped and spasmed in pain as sharp knife-like spines lining its length pierced his armor and dug into the vulnerable flesh underneath. Fighting through the pain, he shoved the tail away and removed the fins from his body. He kept his grip on Zarkorr's tail and pulled hard to try and pull the reptilian off his feet. At the same time, Zarkorr bellowed as he tried to wrestle his tail free of Kamen Rider J's clutches. Water break. The cosmic invader ultimately won the tug of war, bringing his tail up off the ground with Kamen Rider J still attached and slamming it down, hammering the J-powered warrior into the earth. Still sensing the giant's hands wrapped around his tail, Zarkorr swung his tail up again. The momentum and forces of gravity ripped Kamen Rider J off the tail and sent him flying through the air and crashing to the ground. Kamen Rider J stood up, his head ringing. As Zarkorr approached, the beast's roar rung through his skull, snapping him out of his dazed state. Bending his legs, Kamen Rider J sprung into the air. Zarkorr looked up as Kamen Rider J came flying towards him, pulling his fist back.
Rider punch!
A cone of orange flames appeared around Kamen Rider J's fist as he thrust it forward. A spray of sparks showered the area as the J-powered warrior's armored fist made contact with Zarkorr's face. The dinosaurian devil fell back, crying aloud and crashed into the side of a nearby building, becoming trapping in its debris. Gosh darn it, Kaiju X.
Yeah, becoming trapping in its debris. Debris.
Kamen Rider J struck an action pose, ready for whatever the reptilian invader did next. Far across the galaxy, in a hidden fortress located on a dying world, a mysterious figure watched the battle between Kamen Rider J and Zarkorr. From atop his lit up star... What?
What's the dying world called?
Good question.
It's named later on.
It's Alderaan.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I hear myself echoing again. Yeah, it's from you, GVJ.
Hang on, talk.
Got, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm pretty
Or
sure.
your evil twin, Kaiju X.
Well, that's another name I'm gonna have to.
I think it's Alex.
Yeah, I feel.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay. Alright. Yeah, I think it's gone now. Alright, keep reading.
Okay. From atop his lit-up star-shaped throne, he They watched the two combat each other with interest. He switched off the holographic view screen at the sound of approaching footsteps. A small figure, resembling a gray-skinned dwarf human, dressed in gray and blue rags, emerged from the darkness surrounding the throne and stood before the figure, bowing his head in respect.
Arr, Chamberlain.
Said the figure in a deep, menacing tone.
Have all the preparations been completed? Arr. Yo, everything's been done, my homie.
The gray dwarf known as Chamberlain replied.
All we need is your word, and we shall begin invading the Earth, and our gang will rule, y'all. I'm just a stereotype. The word is given. Send Kraa to Earth and begin my conquest of the Omega Sector. Arr. As you wish, homie. Yo.
Gosh, darn it.
Chamberlain bowed again and vanished into the darkness to begin the launch. Lord Doom, that's his name, switched on his view screen, allowing him to see the lifeless surface of the planet as a large hidden door slid open to reveal a hidden cavern. An orb of light shot out of the depths, ascending out of the atmosphere and towards Earth at light speed. Lord Doom began to chuckle, then broke into full-blown maniacal laughter as red lightning crackled in the empty sockets of his skeletal visage. Kamen Rider J and the alien forces that wished to test humanity were about to receive a nasty surprise.
You know, I just want to say I probably made those two characters more well known than Full Moon could ever do.
The sad part is, more than likely, at least if that's something they said straight up from the original material, that's like, yeah, that's probably just slightly more entertaining.
Also, is their nasty surprise more drugs?
I think so. It's the bad kind. When you step beyond heroin, things get a lot worse.
Kamen Rider J yelled out as he planted a chop on Zarkorr's neck, temporarily stunning the creature. Then he drove his leg up, slamming his knee into Zarkorr's chest and forcing the beast back. His ear-piercing bell...
Joe, you there?
Oh my god. I'm here.
Okay.
His ear-piercing bellow filling the air. Zarkorr charged the Earth Spirit's champion. Claws outstretched, Kamen Rider J repeatedly ducked and twisted, dodging Zarkorr's slow but precise strikes, whilst retaliating with his own fist, whenever possible. He tried punching and kicking the devil-like dragon in the chest, then his neck, before grabbing the beast's neck and repeatedly slamming his knee and fist into Zarkorr's face. Nothing seemed to faze or injure Zarkorr at all. The reptilian slashed at Kamen Rider J's legs, forcing the warrior to let go in order to avoid his claws. Zarkorr's head lunged down, and his jaws clamped around Kamen Rider J's injured shoulder. The hero yelled in pain as the dragon's teeth ripped into his armor and sliced into his flesh. Lifting his head off and spinning, Zarkorr threw Kamen Rider J across the city. The J-powered warrior flew into the air until a skyscraper tried to stop him. He crashed into the structure, hitting the ground and rolling to a stop before the wreckage even touched the ground. Though, through the smoke generated by the building's destruction, Kamen Rider J's crimson insect eyes flashed, past.
Zarkorr's eyes bolts cut through the haze, aiming to find and destroy Kamen Rider J. Not a single bolt found their target. An armored warrior leapt out of the cloud, stuck his leg out, flames forming around his foot. Rider kick! His foot collided with Zarkorr's chest, drawing the sparks and sending the draconic creature crashing to the ground. Zarkorr was quickly on his feet, baring his fangs and claws at Kamen Rider J. Rider struck his signature pose, waiting for Zarkorr's counterattack. Before either could attack, an unfamiliar sound filled the air. Zarkorr and a Kamen Rider J's attention was drawn to the sky, where a for some reason can't talk. Where a bright blue orb whistled through the air. Before either could understand what was happening, the orb crashed into the city. A massive fireball rose into the air as the object exploded in the distance. Kamen Rider J and Zarkorr looked at each other. Giant warrior shrugging his shoulders in confusion. That's kind of funny. The ground began to shake as a sound of heavy footsteps was heard, drawing the two giants. The building in the distance crumbled and toppled over. An unseen creature made its way towards them. Kamen Rider J got into a fighting stance, waiting to face this mysterious newcomer with Zarkorr stared uncaringly at the approaching destruction. Massive hand coated in faint green scales smashed through a nearby building, clawing at the structure's interior. The rest of the creature forced its way through the building, showing the streets with granite glass. It was like a bizarre individual taking an angler fish and given its arms, legs, and a reptilian tail. Shimmering green scales covered each inch of its muscular form. Its sculpted chest was coated with silver scales. Massive claws rivaling those of Zarkorr tipped its equally large hands. Crimson gills lined the sides of its neck. A pair of feral cat-like eyes, glowing with yellow above a pair of massive ruby red lips, hiding hundreds of massive teeth. I didn't know Kaiju had makeup. Or used lipstick. Kraa snarled in anger, saliva dripping from his open maw as he sized up his opponents.
Someone's got the munches.
Well, shouldn't it be Kraa snarled up with fear in this case, since it says hunger?
Someone's
Munch. Zarkorr showed no interest in facing Kraa. Well, no shit, he's another full moon monster. He had only one target in his mind. His swinging on Kamen Rider J and sent the rider flying through the air with a cry of pain and surprise. The skyscraper caught Kamen Rider J's flying mass as he came to rest at its base, his head rolling. With his target stunned, Zarkorr begins his approach. The much faster Kraa sped past the reptilian, eager to taste Kamen Rider J's blood. Came to stop as the Kamen Rider J got to his feet and spun around, raising his tail, splashing across the J-powered warrior's face. Kamen Rider J staggered back, catching himself on the skyscraper behind him. Kraa's hand shot forward, his claws raking across Kamen Rider J's chest. The giant hero suddenly shot forward, striking Kraa in the gut with his fist. Kraa hissed and staggered back, clutching his stomach. A sound of surprise left Kamen Rider J's mouth as he realized the beast could feel pain. You're just now coming to this conclusion? Of course it could feel pain. He suddenly felt sick when he realized he was glad he could make Kraa suffer. Kraa snarled at the approaching warrior. He lashed out, missing J by mere inches. J punished the beast's mistake by delivering a roundhouse kick to the creature's neck. Lord Doom puppet, supposed to be Lord Doom's,
Gosh darn it, Kaiju X.
was sent flying to the side and crashed into a building, leaving a large imprint on its side. Kraa pulled himself free, hissing angrily at his challenger. He reared his head back, taking in a deep breath, then opened his mouth and shot through a stream of sonic waves. The waves of sound distorted the air around them, shattering windows on both sides of the street. Kamen Rider J cried out as the sonic beam made contact with his chest. When he sat flying back, crashed to the ground, holding his injured chest with one hand. Kraa growled as he closed the distance, running his tongue across his lips. Before he could take a bite out of the J-powered warrior, a pair of energy bolts exploded against the back of his head. Kraa stopped his advance, hissing in pain and rage. Turned to face Zarkorr. The two alien weapons stared down at each other. Before Kraa let out a loud snarl and rushed towards Zarkorr. I'm gonna pass if I can.
Alright, is it...
Again, I'm also hearing static.
Well, I've been picking you up all right so far, so...
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're, energy bolts lit up tonight?
Yeah, like I said pass.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm just saying energy bolts lit up tonight. That's where they start. Just making sure, because I almost lost myself there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Alright.
Go start it.
Energy bolts lit up the night as they exploded across Kraa's hide, but did nothing to slow down the amphibious beast's advance. Kraa rammed his shoulder into Zarkorr, knocking the devilish dinosaur back. Stunned by the blow, Zarkorr was slow to react as Kraa slashed his claws across his chest. Sparks flew as Kraa's talons raked across... a little bit of a crossing going on here. Across Zarkorr's hide, but couldn't penetrate the dragon's skin. Kraa continued slashing, not noticing Zarkorr snap out of his daze until the reptilian slashed the fish monster across the chest. Streams of red trickled out of the cuts as Kraa stepped back, snarling in anger. Kamen Rider J leapt back into the fray, delivering a flying kick to the back of Kraa's skull, sending the beast crashing to the ground. Rolling with his landing, Kamen Rider J was on his feet in an instant and plowed his fist into Zarkorr's chest before landing a hard kick to the devil-like dragon's side. In response, Zarkorr blasted Kamen Rider J point blank with his eye blast. As the two battled, Kraa got to his feet and charged into battle. Kamen Rider J turned his head to face the approaching Kraa and leapt into the air, skillfully flipping over the fish beast, allowing him to collide with Zarkorr instead. That was a long sentence. The two alien weapons fell to the ground in a mess of teeth and claws. Kraa bit down on Zarkorr's throat as the dragon dug his claws into his shoulders, drawing blood. Kamen Rider J joined the struggle, wrapping his arms around Kraa's neck and smashing his fist into the beast's head over and over. Deciding he had enough, Kraa released his grip and pulled Zarkorr's claws out of his shoulders. He stood up, causing Kamen Rider J to lose hold of his neck. Kraa opened his jaws wide and lunged for Kamen Rider J, hoping to take a bite out of the J-powered warrior. Kamen Rider J reached out and grabbed Kraa by the jaws, stopping the fish monster inches away from his face. The two wrestled for control, with Kraa slowly winning as his jaws came ever closer towards Kamen Rider J's face. Using all the strength he had, Kamen Rider J forced Kraa's jaws to stop advancing. The intergalactic fiend continued struggling for a few more moments before deciding on a different course of action. He took a deep breath, then expelled a blast of his sonic waves to Kamen Rider J's face. The rider's hands were removed from Kraa's jaws as he staggered back and fell to the ground. Kraa breathed in again, preparing to fire another blast. But before he could release, Zarkorr's energy bolts detonated against his back, blanketing his hide in flames. Forgetting about Kamen Rider J for the moment, Kraa spun around towards Zarkorr. He lunged forward with frightening speed, clamping his jaws onto Zarkorr's shoulder. Kraa thrashed his head back and forth, trying to tear into Zarkorr's flesh and taste his blood. But despite his efforts, he could not penetrate the dinosaurian devil's hide. As Kraa fruitlessly tried to sink his teeth into his hide, Zarkorr stabbed his claws into Kraa's stomach. The sea monster tore his jaws off Zarkorr and howled in agony as the dragon's claws assaulted his insides. Ooh. Zarkorr answered his cry with his own bellow and blasted Kraa's face and chest with repetitive blast of his eyebolts. Kraa staggered back, Zarkorr's claws popping free in the process. Lord Doom's pet narrowed his eyes angrily at Zarkorr and inhaled deeply. He opened his maw, unleashing a sonic wave onto Zarkorr. No one could have expected what happened next. The moment the waves of sound made contact with his form, Zarkorr began to shift and flicker like a distorted television image. The monster bellowed in actual pain as he struggled to keep his energy-composed form together. Oh. Kraa's sonic waves were distorting the energy that held Zarkorr together, causing the alien invader to start breaking down. Unable to hold himself together, Zarkorr let out one last bellow before he was consumed by light and began to shrink to form a large white sphere. Kraa cut off his sonic beam and watched the orb hover in place for a moment before it zoomed off into the sky and disappeared into space. From a kneeling position, Kamen Rider J watched in horror as Kraa disposed of Zarkorr. This is bad. Really, really bad. This battle was supposed to just be between him and Zarkorr. The introduction of Kraa had changed things. Without Zarkorr, he had no way of proving humanity's worth to the alien beings. He pondered over what many outcomes could transpire. The tiny girl that served as the alien's emissary appeared on his shoulder in a flash of pink light. Sensing her presence, he turned his head to face the girl.
This was unexpected,
said the girl with surprise.
We did not anticipate Lord Doom beginning his plan so soon. Hee 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 hee.
Kamen Rider J looked at her with confusion.
Lord Doom? Like Dr. Doom?
He asked.
A sinister warlord that rules over Proyas, a dark, dead planet on the edge of the galaxy. He seeks domination over the rest of the universe. Fuck, my voice changed.
We noticed. You suddenly not texting.
So basically every interplanet villain ever.
Koji summarized to himself.
Does this mean I lose? I can never lose, bitch.
He asked, turning to look at the still distracted Kraa. The girl snapped her head up to look at him in response.
Explain.
You said in order to earn humanity's place in the universe, I had to defeat your monster, but I haven't. This one kicked its ass for me.
Kamen Rider J explained. I can hear myself again. Shoot. I think it's coming from you, Alex. So just pop in and out and we'll be good. Okay. Alright. Let's see. Kamen Rider J explained. He looked down at the alien's avatar again.
Oh, is this it?
He asked sadly.
Have I failed to save the people of Earth, my people, and my heroine from your judgment?
The miniature girl paused, almost as if she was receiving new information. After a moment's pause, she gave her response.
Yes.
Where goes that? Here goes you. Nothing was lost.
He freaking said yes instead of no. Not even heroin can save the day. Kamen Rider J's heart caught in his chest as he registered the girl's reply, overjoyed that his world still had a chance for survival.
Zarkorr, our champion, has been defeated by Lord Doom's own challenger.
The girl continued.
With this, the rules have changed. Defeat Lord Doom's monster, and your plan will earn its place in the cosmic balance, and you'll get a new form of your drug.
Yeah, it's called Gorogalizer, anyway.
Don't remind me of my addiction days.
With those words, she vanished.
It's called math.
Yeah. With those words, she vanished in a flash of light. Kraa finally registered Kamen Rider J's presence and spun to face him, hissing at the warrior as the warrior climbed to his feet. Kamen Rider J took up his signature pose, refilled with determination. His strength had been drained by this long battle, and he sported numerous injuries, but he refused to back down and retreat. Not when he was so close to victory. He knew that, unlike Zarkoorr, Kraa could be hurt, evident by the wounds inflicted and the blood seeping from down his scales. Taking down Kraa would be much easier. Let's see. Yeah, if it's alright, I'll just keep reading down to the last bit and I'll let Alex finish it off. If that's alright.
Oh, okay.
Kraa let out a snarl, showing he had run out of patience. Kamen Rider J answered his call and charged into battle. Slow to react, Kraa rushed to meet him. The much faster humanoid giant cleared a gap and leapt over Kraa as the monster struck his arm out. He landed on Kraa's tail, drawing a pained hiss from the green and silver beast. Kraa flailed about and tried to turn around, but couldn't with Kamen Rider J standing on his tail, pinning it to the ground. After a moment of watching, Kraa tried to dislodge him. After a moment of watching, Kraa tried to dislodge him. Oh, I'm an idiot. Gosh darn it, Kaiju X.
Yes, you are.
Kamen Rider J jumped off his tail and smashed his fist into the amphibious creature's face as he turned to face him. Kraa lurched back, giving Kamen Rider J room to continue his assault. The J-powered warrior let loose with a powerful punch to Kraa's chest, producing a snapping sound as one of the fish beast's rib broke. This should be ribs. Gosh darn it. He didn't give Kraa time to recover, smashing his other fist into the beast's chest as well. Lord Doom's puppet howled and lashed out, clawing at Kamen Rider J's chest. The rider leapt back as Kraa's claws punctured his armor. Gosh, try saying that 5 times fast. Kraa's claws.
Kraw's?
Yeah, Kraa's claws. Say that 5 times fast. Guarantee you.
Kraa's cock?
Knowing full well what the beast's claws were capable of. When Kraa slashed at him again, he grabbed the monster's arms and slammed his elbow down on Kraa's own. Kraa's painful cries were accompanied by an audible snap of his arm as his arm fell limply to his side. Still screaming, Kraa spun around and lashed out with his tail. Kamen Rider J grabbed the appendage mid-swing, wrestling it with both hands as he struggled to keep it still. Holding it as still as possible with one arm, Kamen Rider J delivered a powerful chop to the base of Kraa's tail. His hand sliced clean through flesh and bone, severing the creature's tail in one swift strike. Kraa's cries became a constant, ear-splitting scream as he separated from his tail, blood pouring from both stumps. Kamen Rider J raised Kraa's tail like a baseball bat and smashed it into its former owner's backside, causing.
So he shoved it up his ass?
I don't think that's how reattaching things works, Jay. Causing Kraa to stumble forward and topple to the ground. Tossing Kraa's tail aside, earning another spurt of blood from its stump, Kamen Rider J began performing several poses to prepare for his next attack. As he did, Kraa whipped around, spraying the streets with car-sized droplets of blood. He expelled his sonic waves, striking the road beneath him and annihilating it as he trailed the beam of sound up the street toward Kamen Rider J. Just as the waves were about to connect with the J-powered warrior, he leapt up, ascending higher into the air until he could only be seen as a faint emerald spot against the pitch-black sky. He struck a pose mid-air, moving his right foot into a kicking position as he descended back down to earth. A cone of heat formed around his outstretched foot as his speed increased, giving him the appearance of a burning arrow in the darkness. Kraa fired again, his sonic blast striking the hero's chest, but doing nothing to slow him down. Kraa's eyes widened as Kamen Rider J approached, his glossy orbs reflecting the hero's visage. With a loud cry, Kamen Rider J smashed his foot into Kraa's face. Ow! For Lord Doom, watching the battle unfold on his projection screen, everything seemed to happen in slow motion. Kraa's face crumped under the force of the rider kick. The beast's head caved in, spraying ichor and fragments of gray matter in all directions. His eyes popped out of his sockets, secured by only their optic nerves. Whew. Kraa's head snapped back, his neck broken by the force delivered. Lord Doom could but watch with horror as his greatest weapon toppled lifeless to the ground with a thud.
Arrgh.
Kamen Rider J stood tall, looking over Kraa's dead body. He staggered and gasped in pain, falling to a knee as his wound caught up with him. Emerald light immersed his form. To reduce their severity and save his life, Kamen Rider J disappeared in thousands of glowing particles and reformed at human size. He panted and wheezed as fatigue took over, but managed to stay standing. In the distance, the sun peeked over the horizon, signaling a new day for humankind's continued existence. Walking over to the J-Crosser and climbing into its seat, the Kamen Rider started the rider machine up and drove off into the sunset amidst the cheers and prayers of the survivors, praising him for all he had done. Today was a new day for Earth, a day where it had proved itself to the rest of the cosmos and would be allowed to share in its infinity, all thanks to Kamen Rider J. Pass. To Alex.
Lord Doom smashed his fist against the arms of his throne, roaring in rage. With the death of Kraa, his plans for the conquest of Earth would be delayed for himself. Knows how long? Wow, he's got a real god complex here. In his rage-blinded fury, he failed to notice an alarm on his monitor beeping and flashing, warning of an approaching object. The orb of light that was once Zarkoorr hurtled through the atmosphere and smashed into Lord Doom's fortress, destroying it in a nuclear-level explosion. Never let it be said that Zarkorr's craters were not merciful to those who opposed their plans. Winner, the heroine.
Kamen Rider J. Let me start off by saying, is it weird for me to say that I kind of like this match more than match 3?
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, right. This is actually a legitimately good match.
I think it's better paced.
Definitely better paced. This is, it's better pace. And I feel like for most characters, all 3 of these guys, I do not know anything about. But I do feel like, but I do feel like this match does better at conveying the characters than match 3 did with the Ultraman X crew. Honestly, I feel like
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I kind of get behind everything that was going on. For not knowing jack about any of these characters, it all seemed to mesh really nicely. And honestly, I thought the way Kraa finished off Zarkorr was actually kind of pretty clever. Honestly, it was oh yeah, free Zarkorr gets he's beating the crap out of Kraa, so he could do him in, but then Kraa starts freaking sonic beaming him, and it's because Zarkorr's an energy thing, just kind of dissipates and whatnot. And I like the fact that there was almost no chance that Kamen Rider J could beat Zarkorr. But Kraa beat Zarkorr for him, and Kraa being the more weaker one in terms of durability, Kamen Rider J was able to beat him. So I like that dynamic. There was a really decent dynamic, some nice sense of humor split throughout, minus the stuff we interjected.
Yeah.
No, we made it even better.
Yeah, if you're looking for a stranger, funnier version, then check out our version. But honestly, this one is actually honestly, this is probably so far
It's
out.
the best of the 4 so far.
Yeah, the best of the 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it feels really nicely paced, and none of the monsters overstay their welcome, and I do enjoy the fact that Zarkorr does kind of get the, I guess, kind of like the last bit at the way end, oh, you just think he's disappearing into space. It's like, no, he went into space to pretty much do in Lord Doom. That was actually really cool.
Yeah, and that was something I was kind of nervous about going into this match, or at least getting halfway through. It's like, is Kraa just gonna show up so it could be a three-way fight? But no, he actually kind of had a purpose.
Right. Yeah, he had a decent purpose. It was like, yeah, if Kraa hadn't shown up, Jay might have lost.
Yep.
So, yeah, he actually has a good narrative purpose. So, overall, Birdman, props to you. This is actually a really good match. I just wish I could have noticed. I just wish I could have noticed some of the minor faults that I overlooked. Whoops.
That's on it, Cody X.
Gosh darn it, Kaiju X.
Okay. Also, I have received word from Grayshot that he will not be able to join today, so...
Oh, thank God. Yeah, he's playing the game.
Yeah, something like that, so...
Oh.
Remember, kids, the person who insisted on being here is playing a video game instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, yeah. Just... And yeah, you definitely had to be engaged throughout, because it was like the fact that I was able to read the majority of it through was, I was really into this one, as opposed to match 3, which match 3 is not a bad match, but it just had some pace. Yeah, it's just pacing, and the abundance of X's that kind of get in the way. I get what I was going for, but the abundance of X's did kind of get in the way of the pacing and whatnot. But this feels really nicely paced, has decent characters, and this also feels like you don't really need to know much of the show to understand what's going on here.
Yeah, you get some nice exposition between the 3 of them.
Right.
Although I will say you could have, for part of the story, you could have gotten away with Kamen Rider J, just J. Got a little tiring just to spell it out the whole way. You could have just called him J.
Yeah, I guess simplifying it to J or the Kamen Rider probably could have worked, but
Yeah, people would have known who you were talking about.
Right, because at this point, Kamen Rider J, well, like, we pretty much established this is Kamen Rider J we're dealing with. Granted, had it been multiple Kamen Riders, like Kamen Rider 1 or something, and it's like, okay, might need to start differentiating them with just 1s and Js, but otherwise, this is, honestly, this is a really good one. Like, legit.
Other than that, it was pretty good. Like I said, that was my only criticism for it.
Totally.
Just that whole little thing.
Alright. Birdman, do you have any, additional thoughts to add on, or anything you had?
Not really, no.
Okay, not really? Or any sort of insight when you were making this, or?
I can't remember what I was... I probably in heroin when I was making this.
You heard it here, you heard it here, folks. Anyway.
Now to wait for the inevitable comment of someone complaining about me making this funny.
How dare you?
Alright, Joe, did you have any additional thoughts?
I liked it more than the other 3. I think that's all.
No, alright, simple enough.
I actually haven't. I actually didn't read this one when it came out.
Oh.
So this was my first time reading it, and it's really good.
Yeah, so big connections for this video.
Yep.
Alright, and Alex, did you have any additional thoughts that you could add on?
I think everything has been said that needed to be said. It's just a really good match.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
You're basically taking three obscure kaiju and making them entertaining. And people will have a good idea knowing these kaiju without having to watch their respective stuff.
Yep. Totally.
Yep.
Yeah, and just to go over once again, I just love the way Zarkorr was like. Yeah, I just love the way Kraa was inserted into the narrative and the one to get rid of Zarkorr. Like, I thought that was actually pretty slick. I was like, oh, sweet. But yeah. And with that said, this has been.
And like you said,
Go ahead.
and like you said, it was a really creative death for Zarkoor.
Yeah, totally. And with that said, this has been Kamen Rider J versus Zarkorr versus Kraa. And we'll see you guys next time for match number 5, Bemular versus Mecha King Ghidorah. What's that doing here? Well, stay tuned and find out next time. Till then, folks.